All right. We are here, everybody. It is time for some D&D. Welcome to Hearthglow. This is episode 1 of a podcast being recorded live at the Klein Memorial Auditorium in Bridgeport, Connecticut, in the beautiful second floor art gallery near a piano and multiple recycle bins and things like that, and all that. So, but I am your dungeon master for this and the writer of this adventure. My name is Gregory Wilson. If you are listening to this, you might be seeing or listening to it on my Arvan Eleron channel. And this is based on the Night at the Forbidden Library and then Return to the Forbidden Library adventures that were played by the group of players that you were about to hear from in just a moment. Night and Return lead to eventually beyond the Forbidden Library, but it's the in-between portion that this podcast is going to be concerned with, hence why we are calling this Hearthglow. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but first, what I want is for the players to introduce themselves. And so I'm going to begin working left to right, starting with the one person who is remotely with us, and we see him on the video screen, but he is currently in sunny California, and that is Zach Clay. So, hi, Zach. Welcome. Tell us a little bit about your feelings about all this, and then who you are for those who may not know you, and who you're playing in this adventure.
Awesome. Yes. So I am Zach Clay. Hello, everyone. I am a Twitch streamer, voice actor, professional dungeon master. I run a D&D program for kids and teens here in San Francisco. And I am very often on the Arvan Eleron channel for our vocalists and Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks, among many, many other things. And I'm very excited for today. Out here in sunny California, I would be in recording in the Klein Theater if not for having to travel literally to the other coast of the country to do so. But one day we will. In fact, we have done a couple live performances, so that's what this will lead up to, and I'm very excited about this. I will be playing the Tortle Druid in this D&D story named Elder Honu, who is a sort of retired professor at the library.
Very exciting. And while I'm on the subject, you are, of course, level 3. What are your hit points, may I ask?
So the Elder has 27 hit points.
Okay. It's important to recognize that there was a point that Elder Honu, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in the podcast, had gotten incredibly high level and then basically wrapped around. So we were joking about how like the final stage is you being a Tarask, but really you've gone to the other side. So you're like, you're
prestige class.
Yeah.
Yep.
Prestige class. That's right. Subgenre wrapped around to party. Anyway, Very excited to have Zach with us. Also excited to have next up on the list, Carlos Hernandez, who is with us, author and multiple game designer extraordinaire and all kinds of things. So Carlos, welcome. And again, if you could tell us a little bit about, for those who don't know you, who you are and then who you're playing.
Hi, everybody. I am Carlos Hernandez. If you watched Arvan Eleron's channel a few years ago, I was on there in a space adventure with Zach Clay and with our sedulous dungeon master here as well. So you might know me from that. Otherwise, you might know me from the Sal and Gabby books that I did with Disney. Right now, I've had a pretty good stint writing for Marvel Comics. Just today, I got to review the color draft of a short comic that I got to do as part of an anthology for Robbie Reyes, the new Ghost Writer. So, like, you know, let me just tell you, at Marvel, they treat writers right. Like, I get to be part of every stage of the writing process, and that includes, like, when they're doing the inks and when they're doing the colors, when they do the lettering. I'm there all the, and, you know, what the hell do I know about color? I'm like, looks good. Thanks, everyone.
It's not black and white.
Yeah, this is pretty, you know, but it does really look good to me. My untrained eye loves it. So.
And listen, you know, if Marvel, which I'm sure is listening to this, if they would be interested in sponsoring a certain podcast that features a prominent Marvel writer,
right?
You know,
the Hearthglow extended universe.
Yeah. So, HCU, HEU.
Yeah, but I'm very glad to be here. Love playing with Greg. Have played with Zach. You're going to meet my wife in a second. She's awesome. Play with Adam. Love it all. This is going to be great.
And who are you playing?
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I am playing a character who used to go by Ali Needy. She is, however, a common as a second language speaker and didn't realize that her last name implied neediness, and that's caused some problems. So she's trying to go with the last name of Nide. Now, she is a rainbow-colored dragon-born sorcerer with 26 hit points.
Whoa.
26 hit points. Wow.
I'm a little puny weakling, cutie pie.
I like the idea that the former Tarask has only one more hit point than the very dragonborn sorcerer.
The great dragon, you know?
That's right. That's true.
The
Actually.
GM said it. It's canon now. I was a Tarask.
I was a Tarask. Anyway, pleasure, Carlos, to have you with us. Moving right along, we've already had a slight introduction from the husband, but it is my honor to have CSE Cooney with us, Claire Cooney. Good to see you, Claire. So again, for those who don't know you, who are you and whom are you playing today?
I'm Claire. I write and record audiobooks under the name CSE Cooney. Like my friend Adam here, a poet and an occasional playwright. So we get to game design together, Carlos and I, and he introduced me to the wide world of role-playing games, which I was like, I'm a writer and an actor. Why would I also be a role player? It sounds like work. And then he convinced me otherwise, and yada, yada, yada. Here I am 3 years later. So I'm playing a rogue, which is one of my favorite classes. And at level 3, she gets to be an arcane trickster, which I love. And she's a shifter. So she's a hyena. She's a hyena, sort of part human, part hyena. And then she can take an even more hyena-like form, which I really enjoy. And her name is Mog Riz.
Right, I was thinking like the double hyena, the hyenaing. And hit point totals, what do we have for you?
21! Like, what is this?
I mean, you're a rogue, though.
I need
like,
to hide in the shadows and shoot things.
You know, I mean, it's like, you're a rogue. It's like sorcerers also have, well, I guess actually that's not true. Lower hit points. It's just me.
When you're dragonborn.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
the
exactly
key.
it. Yeah.
But pleasure, Claire, to have you with us. And last but certainly not least, a great honor to have Adam Petrosino back with us again. Adam, welcome. And same question to you for those who don't know who you are. Who are you? And then who are you playing?
Hi, my name is Adam Petrosino. I, like Claire mentioned, dabble in poetry, playwriting, mainly playwriting, and Dungeons & Dragons. And I am currently a student at Sacred Heart University studying English and theater arts.
Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Woo!
And for this campaign, I am playing a half-elf bard called Wilhelm Scriven, and he casts his spells through poetry. Level 3 Bard of Eloquence with 24 hit points.
20.
Scriven.
We're just waiting.
I just got
Yeah,
this
like
just
Scriven.
now.
Yeah.
We've played
William the
played-
Scrivener.
Look, I can't believe it just took me. It only took me 2 years, everyone.
To figure out what's going
No,
on.
just
Well,
don't even look at me.
this is a great crew. Thank you, Adam. Pleasure to have everybody here. I'm excited. So let's talk a little bit about what happened. So for those of you who are not aware, I would encourage you all who are listening to this to check out on Arvan Eleron's YouTube channel. I have a playlist including the previous adventures of Night at the Forbidden Library, which was done live at the Klein Memorial Auditorium in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and then the follow-up adventure, which was called Return to the Forbidden Library, that was also done at the Klein Memorial Auditorium. And before I go further, I do want to again give my thanks to the Klein Memorial Auditorium for having us here and for being an awesome presence in the Bridgeport community for many, many, many decades. A lot of famous people have come to speak here, and it is an honor to be able to be back here recording again with them. So these two live events tell the story very briefly of a library which was a part of the Hearthglow Academy, considered one of the great academies of the world in which we are set, which trains adventurers. And the students of this academy were always told that they were not supposed to go to this one portion of the library of Hearthglow, the Eastern Wing, which, as we were told, was a wing in which something terrible had happened 20 years before. What's about to happen is spoilers, so if you don't want these, you should cut off, but otherwise you can keep listening. What happens is that the players that you're about to hear, the characters, were brought in on detention, basically, with the Elder Hanu as their chaperone, as their supervisor, essentially, and the assistant head of school, a man named Vernon Richard, sent them into this previously forbidden wing of the library to find a particular book. At least that was the claim. What turned out to happen throughout the course of that adventure is that the reason that the library 20 years before, that wing of the library had been shut off, was because there had been a terrible crime. A teacher had killed a student. And the student who had been killed was very powerful magically as well, which was one of the reasons that the teacher killed him. That teacher was none other than, drum roll please, Vernon Richard, that jerk, who had done this terrible thing and figured that in sending these students into the Forbidden Library, the wing of the library that is off limits, that he would be solving several problems at once. He might be able to perhaps eliminate these students as problems because they were all problems for Vernon Richard in one way or the other, and also including Elder Hanu, who asked too many questions. As a former Tarask, Elder Hanu was always a bit. I'm just kidding. No. So anyway, he thought that he could solve a lot of problems at once because this was also the anniversary of the time in which he had been killed, and moreover, Hearthglow Academy itself is set over this very powerful font of magic. That'll be something which will come up again in the course of our adventures. So, thanks to the party's clever use of logic, their care, their empathy, and some well-placed moments of combat prowess, they were able to figure out what had happened and were able to set a spirit at rest, this revenant which had risen from the death of this student. It was, in fact, that same student. The party was able to listen and was able to reveal the dastardly Vernon Richard's plans. That was Night at the Forbidden Library. Return to the Forbidden Library, the party, a year later, was brought back for the trial as witnesses, basically, for what Vernon Richard had done. Vernon Richard was on trial, did very little to defend himself, and was found guilty, basically, of all charges. And as they were about to pronounce what the sentence would be, and of course all the party members were in attendance for this, Vernon Richard basically laughed at all of them, declared that he would have vengeance, and this part's going to be important for our podcast, someone in the audience tossed him this strange-looking small device. As it turned out, that device was called a Megirolith, which is a horrifically powerful artifact, and I use horrifically advisedly, because what it does is drain magic from the area. Not a great thing when you are over a font of magic in a academy that is designed to train adventurers. Eventually, that Megirolith might well have destroyed Hearthglow, maybe the city beyond, maybe other things too. It would have had profound effects. And so the head of school, the current head of school, Thaddeus Caleriton, set up a spell to stop time and sent the party members back into time to the previous history of Hearthglow Academy in the hopes they could find something which could head off this awful thing which Vernon Richard had done. The party went back and discovered that the previous history of the school was as a temple, and looking through the temple, discovered it had been a temple in the honor of the gods of time and of nature. To oversimplify, they went through the temple, they passed several tests that would make them worthy of receiving what they needed. And what they needed actually was a sacred branch taken from the tree that has always been at the center of the library and is the focal point of the font of magic I previously discussed. They took that branch, they went back to the present time, used it, touched Vernon Richard with it before he could throw down the Megirolith and suck up all the magic. And he was, rather horribly, surrounded by the branches of this great tree and dragged underground as the final vengeance against this person. So that basically brings us to where we are in the present day, because while we have tied up a lot of loose ends, one major loose end that remains is, who was his accomplice? Who tossed him this Megirolith in the first place? And that ultimately is where we begin our adventure here. And so you have, as we begin, have been summoned. This is about probably a week after the events that we previously discussed in Return to the Forbidden Library. You have been summoned to speak to head of school Thaddeus Caleriton about this subject. Probably it's something you might have expected because you had all, and I forget one of you, actually actually had gone back to try to find the person who threw it. I don't remember who it was. One of you did, and basically found that they had vanished. So not surprising for many of you that you would have been eventually called back for this. And so Thaddeus has welcomed you into the room and into his office and has had you sit down and basically looks at all of you seriously and says, I want to begin by thanking you for what it is that you engaged in this process. I did not think that Vernon Richard would be as much of a threat as he has turned out to be. Thanks to you, that threat has largely been thwarted. But the danger remains. We do not know who threw him this device, nor how they procured it in the first place. And until we know, Hearthglow remains, in my judgment, in danger, and perhaps beyond that. I know that you have been asked twice now to be able to do work beyond what normal students and he nods at you, Elder Hanu, faculty members of great esteem, would be faculty Taraskicus. But he says, I know that we have asked too much of you already, but it is my belief that you have been part of the pattern of this for a reason. And so I wish to ask you a favor. It is whether you would be willing to try to seek out who was responsible for this. I have several faculty members looking already, but the truth is, and his voice kind of drops, I don't entirely know who to trust. It seems to me very unlikely that someone would not have known details of Vernon Richard's trial, of where he was to be placed, where the audience would have to be placed to be able to toss him something. In other words, I'm not sure whether the faculty themselves, some of them, one of them maybe, might have knowledge and might be in on this conspiracy.
Oh, Headmaster, you got a double agent.
Possibly. And the only one I can think of that I know to be beyond reproach are the students and the faculty member who have previously thwarted these efforts to attempt to destroy us.
I'm imagining he says that and maybe looks last at Allie, who is wearing like a full-on Hawaiian muumuu that she's never had on before. Mm-hmm. She's looking very uncomfortable, and this outfit is beyond anything that anyone has seen. And she says, like, yeah, I guess you're right. You could trust us. She's looking shifty, though.
And he kind of like, he sort of looks at you. He's like, I had assumed so, yes. And then
You can absolutely trust her. What are you thinking? Of course you can trust her. You're totally trustworthy, not sus at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sus.
Right, Wilhelm?
No, not at all.
Elder Hanu trusts her.
Is that true, Elder Hanu?
What is sus?
I am, but not Allie.
Oh, like suspicious.
Exactly. Good on you, Teach.
Tell him about Skibbity
are,
Toilet later.
So he says, I believe that I must be able to trust the four of you. And so I wish to ask whether you would be willing to follow up in this investigation. I can tell you that I will give you any clearance that you need to go anywhere in the academy and technically beyond. There are some limits to what my magic can be allowed to do. For example, given the current circumstances of the relationship of the city with the academy, I need to be somewhat careful and circumspect about what help I give. You all know, by the way, that the city was already a little nervous about Hearthglow Academy based on what happened, the information that came out after Night at the Forbidden Library, after something which, and the details of what the thing was that Vernon Richard threw down, or was going to throw down, I should say, because remember, in this timeline, he didn't actually succeed in doing it. But whatever it was that he did, and then the fact that he was, according to rumors, swallowed up, buried, a tree bit him. There are many rumors, but like whatever happened, something weird is going on at Hearthglow Academy, and so the city is even more uncomfortable, and the city officials have made it clear that like, we are getting very unsure whether we want to go along and like continue to support things. So Hearthglow is in a bit of a precarious position right now. So you know the need for circumspection is legitimate.
Oh, you want us to be discreet. I gotcha.
Now, Mug, when I say discreet, I do mean in such a way that you will not come across as, what was the term that you used? Sus?
Oh, no, that's just, my internal monologue. I'm very stealthy. Nobody will even notice me being sus. I'll be that sus. So sus.
I believe I heard your internal monologue previously.
Yeah, I'm like a Eugene O'Neill play,
Those go on forever, right? And he says, now, the other concern, of course, is that, and he looks over to all of you, he says, you all represent in many ways the best of our school, and thus, if you were to be discovered, and he sort of pauses, and then as if he sort of like looks down as if he's kind of reading over a note, and he's like, if you are discovered, the head of school will be forced to disavow all knowledge of your actions.
Got it. Kill all witnesses.
No, that's not, no.
You could breathe your confusion on them, and they won't even know what they saw. Confuse all witnesses.
Okay.
He looks at you, Wilhelm, and he's like, so circumspect.
I don't think we have the facility to kill anybody anyway.
Well, I don't know. I've been quite impressed with what I've heard from you.
Elder Hanu just stares at the ground.
So I believe in you. I just want to make sure that we understand our expectations.
And you know what? I believe that you believe in you, so I've been preparing for this exact situation. I have a few questions.
And he said, yes.
Now, given your clearance is taking us beyond the walls of the school, do you expect us to leave the campus here?
It is possible, although if I were to advise, you might want to begin your investigations at the campus. In fact, perhaps even in Vernon Richard's quarters, something I was thinking about. But after that, of course, wherever your investigations lead you, that may lead you beyond the walls. It is dependent on what you discover.
I've been in those quarters. That's why you put me in detention before. I was sneaking.
Yes, the sus thing again.
No, I was perfectly legitimately in his quarters. Absolutely.
Very well. As it turns out, if only all others of us had been in his quarters legitimately or not, perhaps we could have avoided this problem to begin with.
That's what I thought.
And he nods. He says, yes, in answer to your question, at least at the beginning you'll be here, but afterwards I imagine your investigations may lead you afield, and that is fine.
And we didn't identify this person that ran away, did we?
No,
I almost
unfortunately
had
not.
him.
We have
I went
spent a
after
great
him.
deal of time focusing on them. I know only of your own physical description. And I should mention that your physical description is extraordinarily vague, because part of the reason you didn't catch them is because you had a whole, shadows, and also there's a whole crowd of people that were all like kind of scattered.
And he was like, the figure was recessed behind
Exactly.
some things, and then was really super fast, like uncannily
Extremely
fast.
fast. Yeah, and that was what I wanted to mention. One, uncannily fast, almost inhumanly so, but that doesn't mean inhuman. It could have been magically enhanced, but some way they were like, out the door. The second thing is that the build of the person was sort of medium humanoid, which is not helpful, but it was definitely not an 8-foot tall giant, or like it was not a halfling. So you're pretty confident that it was a, 5.5 foot, something like that, like relatively average height person, which doesn't give you a lot to work with. Dark Cloak moved inhumanly, and and in fact, Thaddeus goes on to say, and unfortunately, they must have also in some way been magically shielded, which indicates to me they may have had magical assistance, or perhaps were magic themselves, and hence my other suspicion about bringing other faculty members into this.
Wilhelm, in your mind, you hear Allie say, ask him if he casts any divination magic to find out about this guy.
You know what? I was just thinking about that. Did he cast any divination magic to find out more about this person?
Did he?
Did you?
Oh, he sort of like looks at her. He's like, did he?
Did I?
Did I? He says yes. And the only thing we have been able to determine is that whoever it was not on school grounds for long. There was a kind of a magical signature. But the problem is it only appears and then disappears, but it does not give us a trail. I wish there was one. It would make it much easier. We attempted to find it, but even then, more details were hidden from us, which suggests powerful magic, not just magic.
And then I just have one more question. There weren't any notable faculty or students missing from this presentation. Were there?
Not that we have been able to determine, no.
All right.
In fact, everyone,
We got this, Wilhelm.
almost
We'll figure
everyone
it
in
out.
the entire academy was at this thing, in fact. It was rather important, as you all know.
I see.
Hiding in plain sight.
And he says, go ahead.
Puts up a hand. Can I bring Mr. Round Clown?
He says, well, I know you've been working on this. If you wish, you may, although from what you've told me, this one is very experimental.
Yes.
What is Mr. Round Clown?
What, have you been holding out on us? Does Elder Hanu know about
And
this?
so Thaddeus nods at you if you want to bring Mr. Round Clown. Yeah.
And so I go, watch this. I go, it's like a little whistle. And in walks in a 4-foot automaton that looks kind of like a robot made of metal balls. The balls don't look like they are connected to each other by anything other than like gravity or magic, kind of like weirdly holding them together. And has one eye in the center, one big red nose, and a big black circle that seems to just be a drawn in mouth of some kind. And it just kind of like comes in, and when it comes in, it clanks. You know, like those 80s toys that were on every executive's desk that go chink, chink, chink,
Yep,
chink,
yep,
like the hanging, whatever those things are called. It basically looks like that thing, you know, but just kind of like jangling along, clapping and making noise as it comes in.
Does it roll in? Or like clank in?
No, so it's basically, it has balls stacked on each other, weirdly, impossibly, magically, that serve as its legs. And at the end of its appendages, it seems to have these metal fans
Oh, cool.
that are very scythe-like and sharp-looking.
Cool.
Everybody, meet Mr. Round Clown.
I think I'm in love for the first time in my life.
I'm scared.
Elder
You
Honu's
should be.
grip on his staff just tightens a little bit, and he says,
Perhaps we should get them some fashion to blend in a little better.
Okay. And then I'm about to take off my muumuu and put it over, and then I quickly like pull it down, and I go, like, I have another one in my room.
You can put a moo on Mr. Round Clown?
Don't take this the wrong way, Ali, but had you considered the garmenting of this thing beforehand?
Well,
Do you have anything that fits?
I mean, the muumuu that you see on her, massive, like it is, you know, this huge, like almost like priest-like vestments hanging off of her. It's like, I think I have a few things that will work, but he doesn't have a wang.
And Thaddeus sort of just nods. Like, in any case, you can bring Mr. Clown with you for certain. When I mention circumspect, I do want you to be aware of the need for occasional stealthy moments, the need to not let anyone in the town or city know of your engaged activities.
He's my bodyguard. You don't want me to die, do you?
Certainly not. I would hope your other party members would also help.
We'll get a mustache.
So he...
The good thing about Mr. Round Clown is everybody's going to be looking at it and not us.
That's what he's for. He's really great at drawing attention. He's supposed to make snide jokes at people to get them to attack him instead of me. He's just not very funny.
That's fine. None of us are.
And so Thaddeus, who you all know to be now as bad as Vernon Richard was, Thaddeus Caleriton, you know to be a very excellent head of school and a very supremely powerful wizard. But he has this kind of like long-suffering thing of having dealt with all of you for a long time. He obviously deeply respects you, but it's always like this, enter random elements and see what happens, right? So he kind of gives this sort of long sigh and he says, yes, well, I have faith and belief that you will do the right thing. And he turns to you, Elder Hanu, and he says, and I'm counting on you, Elder, to be able to guide our students and Mr. Clown to whatever awaits them and through whatever dangers may await. It'll be your responsibility in part to ensure that everything proceeds properly as a faculty member emeritus.
A responsibility I take very seriously.
And
He's the best.
And so he nods and he says, then this, and he waves his hand, and appearing in his hand, you see this shimmering rainbow key. It's a metal key, apparently, but it has rainbows continue to sort of swirl around it. So it's like as you're looking at it, like something is moving over the surface of the key. Otherwise, it's a really rather normal looking, except for what I just described, large key with two, things that you would put into a lock. And he hands it over to one of you. It's up to. Okay.
I'm real good with keys. How about I cast Mage Hand and snatch it from the air?
You could do that.
I'll do that.
And so he says, now be aware that this key has some magic qualities to it. And again, detect magic circumspect is what I'm saying. Mostly just don't let other students or faculty see that you're going into Vernon Richard's quarters with this key, if that is your plan, because, again, it's not strictly speaking supposed to be going to people, but...
But he got eaten by a tree, so, isn't it a free-for-all?
Yes, but there are concerns that his rooms are magically guarded. We have had some people that have gone in before, and of course they've all come out safely, but with rather explosive results, and again, circumspection.
Mr. Round Clown, you can go in first.
He says to you, I will do that.
Oh, you can talk.
I will do that.
Wonderful. I am not doing it.
And I have this Mage Hand now, and it can use keys to unlock things. So at least we could send that in too, ahead of us a little bit.
You should probably just make an Arcana check for that voice that I just did.
Sure. Oh,
Is that okay? I don't want
no.
to do it. So,
Arcana? That is horrible. That is 6.
yeah, you think he can talk?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, I know you pretty well. Do I think he can talk?
I mean, it's really up to Greg to decide who gets a check, but
Well,
I think
what
everybody should.
I'm wondering if it isn't an insight check more than an Arcana check.
Oh,
But it depends on what you're aiming for.
or either one, yeah.
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 If it's Arcana, 18, Insight, 15.
So-
And then what about Elder Hanu?
He doesn't really care at the moment.
I'm just
To be
looking
honest.
from you to the clown to you, Mr. Round Clown.
Yeah. So I think you very clearly figure out that there's some cantrip work going here that is projecting the voice.
Oh, almost like a ventriloquism?
Or like prestidigitation.
Oh. And then I just wink at you.
Just like I know. Okay. So he then nods and he ushers you out of his office. He says, I should also note that if you are able to discover this, we will be enormously grateful. And for the students, I think independent study credits would be more than warranted.
Ooh. It could boost up my grade point average, I have to admit.
It might balance your transcript, yes. Yeah. So the question is, where do the four of you wish to go once you have left his office? At this point, you can talk to each other, but you can also be aware of where you need to go and just decide what you want to do.
So two
Yeah,
quick
Elder-
things. Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
Elder Honu will turn to the group as the door shuts outside of the headmaster's office and look at all of you and say,
Well, we're back at it again, I suppose. I was a bit distracted in the room because as we've just woken up from our rest, I was hearing this mission and preparing spells for what we might do. I think if I could give us a certain order, perhaps we should go check his office. I can cast a spell that would allow us to pass without trace into the office, but we would still need the expertise of each of us to search for evidence or traps or otherwise. What do we think?
That's a great idea, Teach, but Mog and I have to go to the bathroom right now.
Yeah, I got it. Like sneaking in places always makes me want to pee. So hold that thought, but you're speaking my language. I love this idea of passing without a trace.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk to me and teach me a few things. I've been trying to learn magic because I really want to be like you when I grow up. But in the meantime, urinals?
What? I don't use a urinal.
Just whisk him around the corner.
Before you two have a chance to talk, Wilhelm, what are you going to do in this process? Are you just hanging out with Elder Hanu?
I'm going to stay with Elder Hanu.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea.
There's also Mr. Round Clown there, just kind of like looking at you with one eye.
Awkwardly, so it's Hanu and Wilhelm, and then just Mr. Round Clown is just sort of sitting there.
I'm going to start talking to Mr. Round Clown.
Just in the hopes of getting a response. Like those robots at a grocery store.
That's actually a good point. When you leave, what happens with Mr. Round Clown? Like, can Wilhelm talk? Will Round Clown respond?
So Mr. Round Clown can't actually
That's what I was
talk.
going
It's
to say.
ventriloquism.
Okay.
Just spoiler alert, it does have a vicious mockery power that it can use, but it wouldn't use that on an ally. So it can talk occasionally in a voice that will sound different than what.
Okay. Well, then before I get to your little conversation, so Wilhelm, what do you say to Round Clown?
I'm just going to kneel down to it and like kind of look at it. Are you alive? I'm going to reach
Here,
up.
I'll use the D20 here to impersonate it.
I'm going to like knock on the head. Dun, dun. Is this some sort of quip? Elder, are they playing a prank?
I find myself looking at this thing, wondering how Ali got the supplies to make it.
That's exactly what I was wondering. She seems very scattered. I'm very surprised this came out of all of her.
Maybe
whatever
it's
closet.
from their family or something. Now that I think about it, I don't know too much about any of you or your histories, but...
Not at all, to be honest. But given draconic lineage, maybe.
It's actually a perfect place to cut to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Draconic lineage, yes. Pause. So meanwhile, in the urinals.
Hey, what's with the moo-moo?
So, when a dragonborn starts growing up, their body goes through a lot of changes.
Oh yeah, that happens with hyenas too.
Yeah, I don't think this happens. And she basically starts all the way at the bottom, at the ankles, pulls the moo all the way up over her head. And what you see, imagine dog teats, like 6 of them, but instead of dog teats, you see baby dragon heads. Black, white, green, blue, red, and a gold one with little nerd glasses.
Oh wow. That's amazing. Do they have names?
I haven't named my nipples. I mean, no. Well, except this one. This is Egbert, and then she passed the one that's gold.
One.
Yeah. I made little glasses for him because he's so cute.
Egbert is the cutest.
The others are kind of mean, though. Sometimes they talk.
Your dragon nipples talk to you?
Yes.
Wow.
So I was doing some research. I think I might be a Tiamat baby.
Did you know you had that in your lineage?
No!
Whoa.
Dad never told me.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
It's Tiamat!
I mean, cool.
Not so cool!
I just know that I love you. Anyway, nothing bad's gonna happen because you're awesome.
So the red dragon nipple hisses at you.
Oh yeah, I'll just bite your head off. You do that again.
It retreats.
Yeah, I thought so.
Pulls down the moo-moo. What do I do?
Well, you're still undergoing changes. It's not your final form. I mean, it's gonna be great. Don't you worry.
That's it? Don't worry? Having dragon nipples?
No, listen, we live on top of an ancient library full of amazing archival archives, right? And so one of these nights, after we're done, putting this shadow assassin to justice, we'll sneak down and we'll, ask the ancients.
Okay.
Elder Hanu will also probably know because Elder Hanu knows everything. And Wilhelm knows a lot too. He's a smarty pants.
Don't tell Wilhelm.
Don't tell Wilhelm? Okay. I mean, he looks a lot like your Egbert there, I've got to say.
It's kind of why I gave him the glasses.
Oh, that's so cute. Oh my God. Okay, I won't say nothing. I won't say nothing.
And I think, scene.
Okay. So meanwhile, are you still knocking on that?
Until they come back, I'm pretty much just going to be looking at that thing.
Mm-hmm. Just sort of staring right at it. Okay. Well, I think probably not too long afterwards, then you return. I don't know what expressions you have on your faces, having gone.
I'm just trying to be extremely normal.
Yeah. By the way, no one ever saw you in this enormous Hawaiian thing before recently, right?
This is like a debut.
Yes. Okay. Wanted to make sure.
Your expression is extremely normal, and Mog's expression is, when hyenas cackle uncontrollably, it's like trying not to do that.
All the time.
All the time.
This is going to be tremendous the whole time. Okay. So where are you folks going then?
Shall we get going? And you had a nice time.
I
in the
feel
bathroom?
empty of all things. Teach pure kenosis, self-emptied. So I guess I want to say, who else is in the hallway where we are, right outside the headmaster's quarters?
Right outside the headmaster's quarters, there's a faculty member or two that will be passing by. I should also say that this is technically in between term at the moment, so there's not as many people as you would normally have on campus, but there are still, a few staff members that walk by on occasion, and maybe a student or two.
Does Elder Hanu do you have your own office space here at the school?
Yeah, I think the elder probably would have had his own office, but given that he's retired or retiring, either way, I don't know if his office would have already been reused or reclaimed.
I get Carlos and I can tell you, yes, it would have already been repurposed
you've got
within a week of your leaving.
You've got a crappy adjunct office. It's basically like
You have an office on your back, don't you? Don't you just have an office? You just carry your office with you?
That's what the administrator said.
Yeah.
They're like, you have an office on your back. You don't need an office.
Yeah.
Would we, as sneaky, misbehaving students, know of an alcove or a place to duck into where we could more discreetly ask our lovely teacher to cast a spell upon us?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I would say we would go to whoever that nearest hidey hole would be in the Hearthglow Academy.
I mean, and we all have dorm rooms, right? So we could all go to someone's dorm room.
Yeah, unless would it be sus? I don't know if they're gendered or divided, or would it be weird for a teacher to go into a student's dorm room? You know what I mean? If we're just trying to do this discreetly.
Sure.
If you're asking me whether it would be considered strange, it depends. If you, Elder Hanu is, as I recall, we made him the advisor for a group of students as well. So technically an advisor could go into certain places. If the advisor starts going into multiple student rooms, that could get real weird real fast.
Yeah. But there's a bunch of us. It's like a group of us that are his mentees.
Right.
Let's maybe on our way to his Vernon Richard's office. I guess Elder Honu could be saying this.
On our way to the office, let's find a public bathroom or a hallway or something and cast Pass Without Trace.
To the urinals!
Yes.
Part 2.
I think that's the name of this episode.
To the urinals. To the urinals and beyond. All right. Well, you're able to do that. If you go to the urinals, you can find a safe place where they're, and you'll be able to do the Pass Without Trace. Now, finding one the thing about Vernon Richard's quarters is, so you have the faculty quarters, basically. And Vernon Richard, who was, again, the assistant head of school, had a rather unusual setup in that his quarters were actually a tower.
Of course.
And, as you might have expected, the guy was always compensating. So, so that was the theory. Anyway, so there is probably a place fairly nearby, maybe not the urinals though, but where you'd be able to cast something before going in there. Previously, the quarters had been guarded, but you notice as you're sort of coming up before you do the Pass Without Trace thing, that there is not a guard on there at the moment, and that's presumably because Thaddeus Clariton has discreetly asked the guards to be repositioned for your, investigation.
If it's a tower, there wouldn't be urinals or a guard. There'd be a garderobe. However, we could do it in the garderobe.
That's true. That's true. That's true. They're not a bit, and it's, I should say, reasonably tall, 6 or 7 floors, but very narrow. So not a lot of things on each space.
You know what they say about a wizard in his tower.
Okay, so
it's not the length, the thickness. So, sorry.
That's how you use the tower there. So you do the pass without trace thing. And then are you, now, as you're going into this tower, I guess I'd like to know from people, are you looking for anything in particular as you first go in? Obviously, I'll describe what you see and all that, but what's your kind of operational status? Are you going to be looking for something in particular? Is anyone going to be taking the lead and looking for certain things, that sort of stuff?
I'm immediately drawn to spell books.
Okay.
I want to look for sort of incantations or especially leading towards cloaking or enhanced abilities with like how that other one moved.
Okay.
I've got pretty high stealth and would be happy to check for traps. I'd be happy to go ahead and try to do that as quietly as possible.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to be using prestidigitation to just have a mild wind, try to remove dust and sort of kind of shift things around a little bit to try to, reveal things that might have been purposely hidden.
Okay. All right. And then Elder Hanu, anything?
Yeah, I think if this is a tower, if each of the floors have something on them that we can stop and check out, then I guess we would do so in the Elder's mind. His goal is ultimately to get to the office, which he imagines is at the top of the tower. But if this whole tower is his, then we should probably stop anytime we find any bookshelf, any room or whatever. But yeah, the Elder's trying to push to get to the office, assuming that's where the goodies are going to be.
Okay. All right. Well, so the outside is a well-appointed, probably 7 foot wide, 7 foot tall door. Very impressive looking, banded oak wood and all that stuff. And there is a very prominent lock, and you happen to have a prominent key. So who? And I don't remember. Did you? You took the key, right?
I've got it. Yeah, and I've got it in the mage hand.
Okay.
Which is one of my new awesome cantrips.
Yes.
And it did say that with my mage hand, I would be able to use a tool to unlock a door.
Yep.
So if everybody thinks it's a good idea, we know people have gone in and there have been exploding things. So probably the act of opening the door wouldn't explode it, but I think probably with the hit points I have, I would be just really extra careful about such things.
Okay.
So I wouldn't mind trying to unlock the door with the key that we have.
Yeah, and I'm going to usher us back. It's we should stand back. And, I think maximum range for you is 30 feet or something.
I have a...
How far can the hand be away from you?
Oh, I don't know. I wrote it all down, though, so
Oh, I have the charge hand.
You do?
I do, because I have mage hand as well. It is 30 feet.
Yeah.
Thank you. You
So we
just have
should
that as your immediate knowledge. That's awesome. 30 feet.
So, kind of pushing us back. And so, right at the edge of your range, turn the key.
Yeah, turn the key and kind of push open the door.
Okay. So when you turn the key, there is a click, and the rainbow swirls that I mentioned go dark on the key, and then the door begins to swirl rainbow, as if it was flowing from the key into the door. And then the door noiselessly opens. Actually, I made a noise. that was for the benefit of the podcast listeners. Noiselessly opens.
Right. That was the sound of nothing.
Yeah, that was it.
It was your robot that did it.
Right. This is me just, anyway, and reveals the following room, and I will have to try to put these in the show notes later.
Oh.
So this is the door. Now, one thing that you can say is, I should have mentioned this before, this also functions as Vernon Richard's office.
Can we show that to Zach, or does he have that on?
Yeah, I will also show that to Zach, and I will describe it for the listeners in just a moment.
Okay.
So that is basically this. And what you see inside is a 25 by 25 foot room. There is a purple rug with several interesting sort of symbols or patterns on it. There are 2 chairs and a lantern on the rug. And then on the side of the room, to the eastern side of the room, there is what looks like basically a desk with some papers on it. There is a lit candle, which is burning on it. And then several shelves or cubby holes, really, that have scrolls in them. And there's a set of stairs leading up at the eastern side of the room as well. Now, I should mention that all of you are familiar with this place because this is Vernon Richard's office, where he would often come to, bring you in to berate you about something or another. So this sort of thing is familiar to you, but of course you've never been above. Even Mog has never been above. You've been here when you weren't supposed to.
I rifled the office, and
Exactly.
that's what I got detention for.
Exactly. But you've never been able to you've never gone beyond that to the floors above. So this is what it looks like. The room actually, you mentioned the prestidigitation stuff. The room does not have any dust in it. It actually looks fairly clean, as if it has been recently, swept or
Prestidigitated.
searched for something. Yes, exactly. Prestidigitated. And that's it. There is no sound in here. But there is, other than just the sound of yourselves, but there is a very kind of faint. Actually, let me have all of you make perception rolls for me, please, if I can have those.
Before we do that, or I guess as we do, as we all enter, Elder Honu is going to go to his pack that he has on his shell and pull out a totem that is carved into the shape of a hawk, and he's going to release the totem from his hand, and it'll float in the air, and this faint green aura out to, I believe, 30 feet will just sort of wash out from the hawk totem. And what this ability will do, it says the hawk spirit is within this totem. You and your allies have advantage on perception checks while within the aura.
Very nice.
Natural 20.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Dang.
Also, I want to remind you, I'm going in first to check for traps.
Yep. I'm going to have you do something about that in just a minute. Also, Zach, I'm going to put a link. I forgot that I had this set as well. So I'm putting a link to the Roll20, so you can actually see that. That will show you the map there as well.
Okay, got it. All right, I'll get in there.
That was the sound of Carlos rolling.
That's right. I rolled like thunder.
Good God.
And I got a 14.
And I got a 14. Okay, so we have a 14. You had a natural 20.
I also got a natural 20.
Wow.
Whoa!
I like it. You all using this up early on.
And
It's really
I know,
good.
it's terrible. Like on the
yeah.
first floor where there isn't anything.
You find nothing. No. Okay. So those of you who run, sorry, Elder, what'd you get
I
first?
also got a 14.
Okay. I would say that for Ali and for Elder Hanu, there's probably a faint sense of almost as if there's like a little bit of a stirring of the hairs on the back of your neck, a little sense of like kind of a feeling of goosebumpy slightly. But I would say that Wilhelm and Mog, you feel very clearly a kind of, I would say almost a vibration in the floor, that as you walk, as you first walk carefully into the floor, into the room, you can actually feel sorry, one second. I just realized I sent you to the wrong place. There we go. There we go. It is the right place. I got you. No, you're in the right place. You can feel this almost slightly discomforting sensation, kind of like static electricity or something that's sort of running up and down your bodies and your arms. Nothing that's like painful or damaging or anything
Coming
like that.
from the floor, you said?
Yes, but
from the rug specifically, or from the wood?
From the floor. And even when you first walk in, there's stone when you first come in. Even from that, it's something about the place itself. Very mild. So you, Elder Hanu, and Ali are aware of it, but not really sure. It's like it wouldn't feel like a vibration. It's just something that seems off. But you definitely feel it as this kind of vibration.
And as Mog is checking those first stones, I'm also going to do something. I'm going to sort of flip through my book I have of all my poetry and spells, and I'm going to cast with saying, leaving no crevice or corner unchecked, ores of spellcraft and magic detect. I'm going to cast Detect Magic.
Okay. So I'll respond to that first. Yeah. Oh my goodness. There is so much magic. And probably the magic that you would notice as being the strongest is abjuration and conjuration. But those two schools, but there's other things mixed in. Part of the problem, and you've had this problem before, Wilhelm, is that at Hearthglow, whenever you cast, like, it's like, you know, it's like being in a nuclear power plant and having a Geiger counter, like, like, you know? So, like, that's the problem. There's magic everywhere. But definitively, those two schools are ones that you would notice down here. Also, it's not clear whether they're stronger anywhere in the room. It's not a huge room, and just everywhere in the room feels to be giving off this vibe. But definitely more in the room than outside it. So,
and like the scrolls in the corner or the lit candle that's perpetually, that those aren't giving off any specific detect magic.
Well, the candle actually probably would be giving off a like an alteration vibe, something that's been done to basically, it probably is an ever-burning candle. You've seen these before elsewhere in Hearthglow. That would be your guess. Also, the fact that there's no extra wax. Like, there's a little wax, but there's not like a lot that continues to drip down.
Aesthetic wax.
Exactly, aesthetic. It's an electric fireplace, right? So, yeah.
At Sensory Overload, we have a lot of summoning and a lot of protection magic here.
Summoning? Oh no.
Conjuration. It may not be exactly that, but we'll see.
I would like you to make a investigation check for me, please, as you're coming in and
Use
searching.
my Ginny D dice or my good old liquid core that just gave me a 20. I'll do a Ginny D. That'll be funnier, whatever happens.
Okay.
16 plus, what am I doing?
Investigation would be it's
intelligence, right?
Plus 5, 21.
Intelligence, yeah. 21. So, yeah, you're, other than that thrumming feeling, which I've described before, you don't think there's any particular traps, but as you get over to the rug portion, which is, again, about midway into the room, as you get to that purple rug, you notice that there is something, kind of a blackened mark below the rug that's sort of coming out from underneath it on the wooden floor.
I would point that out to everybody. Upon closer examination, is it the sort of thing like it looks like an old scorch mark?
It does look like an old scorch mark. You're not sure how old.
That maybe came from below? Maybe I'll look above and see if there's anything that looks like it could shoot flame.
No, it's about a 10-foot high ceiling, and it doesn't look like anything in particular. There, in fact, are no lights in the ceiling. The light is coming from that candle that's in the corner of the room.
Maybe avoid the rug?
I put a hand on it and said, like, girlfriend, Mr. Round Clown's got this.
Okay, I'm stepping back.
And I just say, Mr. Round Clown, will you move that carpet? And Mr. Round Clown says, absolutely, you beautiful, beautiful woman.
Whoa.
Starts.
Mr. Roundcline's such a flirt.
Uses the fan hands to kind of just like flip the carpet.
So when the carpet flips up over the chairs that are there, you can see that there is indeed a very large scorch mark, which this rug clearly was attempting to cover. The rug, as you can see on the picture, was slightly askew, and so the mark sort of stuck out from below it. What's a little more troubling about it is that the scorch mark appears to be like a chalk outline of a person. So the scorch mark is just like, laying out on the,
And the stones don't look.
And that's wood. Remember this.
Oh,
part
sorry.
Of the floor.
So the wood on the floor doesn't, other than being scorched, doesn't look like it might be raised or like any pressure plates or anything.
Does not look like
observable.
that. No.
So I'm gonna keep scanning the room for the possible source of this flame.
Okay.
So
And
things in the walls.
The elder will turn to Wilhelm and say,
With your detect magic, can you tell what specific objects in the room are giving off this conjuration and so on?
If I really focus, maybe.
Not really. Yeah, really not. And it may be something you'll have to see when you get to the higher floors. It may be something specific to the tower more than the room, because they are all stacked, obviously, on top of each other. You're pretty confident that there is no obvious basement below this, mostly because you know about Hearthglow itself. And the wood is set on top of a stone foundation. But higher, you have no idea because you've never been up there.
Something might have chased this person who became an outline down from a higher place.
Possibly.
So, all right. So,
and it does look, and I should say, by the way, because you mentioned, sorry to interrupt, you did say the old scorch mark. Ask me if it was older. It doesn't look like this just happened, but you don't know about it being years old either. But it definitely isn't like the last day or so.
we've been in this office within the last year,
Yep.
obviously, to have
Yep.
been detentions. Was this rug here at that time?
The rug was here, yes, although it wasn't actually askew in this way. It was set.
So the mark could have been here before the whole time, but we don't know.
I have
Right.
a question. Is the body shape there the vague size of that student's ghost that we saw originally?
It is not.
Was his name Jael, that guy?
Yes, no. You're talking about J.L. Ogion, I think.
Jael Ojian. He was a ghost, but maybe not our ghost.
Yeah, the ghost that you were talking about was Caleb Ironcloak.
Oh,
Do we
yeah.
know if he was killed in the library?
Yes, he was
Okay.
killed in the library in
that-
the wing. That was the big encounter where Vernon had been like, "Come talk to me," and then back and forth.
I have Caleb Ironbook, but I didn't recognize.
And if you want to know more about this, dear listeners, please see Night at the Forbidden Library. And by the way, shameless plug, I think this first episode will be out before I'm there. I will be in England doing a Dungeons & Dragons event in which I will be running Night at the Forbidden Library in a small theater, much smaller than the Klein. So if you're like, wow, I'm in England and I don't have anything to do on August 17th, you should consider, if you're near southern London, you should consider stopping by.
So cool.
Anyway. So, okay, so yes, so you figured that out. Wilhelm, I want to come to you just quickly, because you mentioned scrolls and books and things like that. So there are a bunch of those that you can see on the shelf there that's sort of to the top right with the little cubby holes. A lot of them are rolled up, and on the top what you can see are basically things that look like student transcripts, maybe. There's one note that's about like, yes, I give this person permission to over-enroll, Vernon Richard, like that kind of stuff, that you can see on top. Now, there are a lot of scrolls and things like that in the cubbies. It would take a long time to look through all of them, but they are there. It looks like administrative records from what's visible, though.
All right. And can I get precise types of magic from these scrolls?
The scrolls are not giving off magic.
Gotcha.
Yeah, at least any more than anything else is. The biggest magic in this area would be the candle, and that would be really conjuration, I think, is what that would be.
As I come across different scrolls and books and things, I want to specifically look for transmutation and illusion.
Okay.
And I feel like I've probably, before I was detained by the previous owner of this office, I probably riffled it pretty thoroughly. So after a circumspect inspection, once I feel like I've inspected most things, but you'll tell me if I've missed anything, I would head for the door, the place I haven't been yet.
I will give you one bit of information, though, partly because of your incredible natural 20.
Mm-hmm.
When you are looking to see, like, because you've riffled the office before, one of the books is, like, weirdly out of place. Like, you have this sort of stacks of books, and you probably would notice this too, Wilhelm. But because Mog is looking for something specific, Mog, when you're sort of looking at the weirdness of this book, and when you pull the book out just a little bit because it looks odd, there is behind the book what looks like a scorch mark that comes out this way. And if you sort of like turn around, this lines up with the scorch mark on the ground.
Hey, Teach, Elder Hanu, can you come look at this, please? It's making me uneasy.
I walk over.
Okay.
It comes from within the bookshelf.
Right. Exactly like behind the book is this scorch mark from the back of the cubby hole, basically leading outwards. And it's like, it's basically looks like the spray pattern is like this on the inside of the cubby, spreading out. And then if you look around, like you're right in line with where the outline is on the ground that you discovered underneath the rug.
I send my mage hand in. Is there like a wall?
Yeah.
Is there any like recess or catch or trick or anything.
Not that you notice.
Huh. What do you make of it, Teach?
I feel like this is an indication that he was hiding something on this bookshelf, because why have the trap be here? Perhaps it would take some time, but we could remove every book from the shelf. I don't see what other lead we have at the moment.
Maybe Mr. Clown Frown Round
Clown.
Pound could do it.
Crown
says
round.
Turn your smile upside down.
He says, "Clown, frown these nuts," and immediately starts to go and take things out of the cubbies and basically pile them outside.
Okay, so as you're looking at it, and all of a sudden, like, and just books start getting piled on the ground, just like pulling them like in front of you, like.
He also has blade hands, so
You know,
he's not, paper cuts are happening.
Yeah. And that doesn't take very long. Soon you have a mess of books on the ground.
Outside the door, by the way.
Outside the door. Oh, of the room.
Yeah. Piling them outside.
Okay. So you're aware that the books are going to pile up and be visible outside, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'll start like going outside as I'm still pass without trace. I have to be with a certain.
Yeah.
So I'll just
Within,
try to like bring them back in, scoop them back in invisibly.
Oh, Mr. Round Clown, right here.
It's like, I just have this image of like just your hand, Bob's hand, pulling it back, like,
My mage hand, because it can hold up to 10 pounds, keeps shoveling them back in.
So pretty quickly, the books get pulled out of the shelf, and what you find is that the cubby just looks like a normal now empty cubby hole, but there is in that one spot an area that looks like, from the back wall, this spray pattern on the walls next to it that just,
This is so mysterious and very alarming.
Wait, does it look like there could be something that shot fire from the bookshelf, or because I can't see the perspective you're talking about, or does it seem like the fire may have come from the opposite wall of the bookshelf and that it touched?
No, I know what you mean. I think because Zach's asking for like the thing I keep doing with all of you, which you can't see.
Oh, turn the camera.
Yeah, can you move the camera to me for a second? So like from the back wall, it goes like this. So if you can imagine, there's the back wall. It would go like that. And so it does seem to be coming from within the cubby, whatever it was came from within the cubby.
Right. And
Elder Honu then will say, "It must be behind this." And then I look at Allie and say, "I don't mean to put your lovely construct in danger, but, well, can you put your lovely construct in danger?" And I point at where this scorch mark is coming from, because it seems like this one spot is host to a trap, and therefore maybe something is behind it. I don't know.
Or was host to a trap.
Right.
Right.
And I say, anything you say, Teach, he's here to take danger, so we don't have to. And I'll just have Mr. Round Clown go in and kind of like dig his fan hands in there and try to like scoop things out. Yeah.
Echoing alarmingly.
Right.
What's the wall's hit points?
Exactly. He does not succeed in creating any further trap work. So if there is a trap, it's been set off. And there's nothing back there that he discovers.
And it seems like then there's no obvious like nozzle or physical analog thing. It seems like maybe a spell was left, that there's no
conceivably
no
A
trace
spell
of it.
or possibly an artifact that might now be mobile or elsewhere.
Right.
So we're looking for something small that would fit within a cubby hole. If it's an artifact that we want to kind of like keep an eye out on small places for things that might be hiding, I think.
I have a little point. Rashad was very meticulous about everything he did, yes?
He
Sure.
thought he was.
He thought he was. Why wasn't this carpet placed directly over? It seems like somebody came in and out in a hurry and somebody died. Maybe it wasn't just one person.
Well, the headmaster did say this place has been searched several times since the trial, so they just didn't come out unscathed, apparently.
He did say some people exploded.
But they survived. Exploded, but survived.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty sus, wasn't it?
Pretty sus. Skibbity toilet.
I think Elder Honu now just to try something else, is going to, and we'll see how much liberty you give this DM, but I think Elder Honu will wave his hand in the air, and a few faint motes of light will begin to rain down over the room. I'm going to cast Fairy Fire in the room, and that will, the notable effect is that it can outline anything that's invisible. I hope there's no invisible creature in here, but I'm also hoping maybe like in those spy movies where someone blows, powdered smoke and then the lasers show up sort of thing. Maybe like I can use Fairy Fire to outline magic better or something, or outline something.
I love those sequences, but unfortunately, it does not outline anything invisible or otherwise this time.
Not on the first floor.
Yeah. Though, yeah.
Are we? Yeah, which by the way, so is this the terminus of this tower, or did we just stop in the first room and we're like, oh wait, we still have so many other places?
This is the ground floor of the place. There are the one stairs that lead up from it, but this is just the ground floor office that is the bottom of Rashard's quarters, basically.
Yeah, then after casting that too, I think Elder Honu will cross his arms and say,
I'm not sure there's much left here for us. Perhaps we should keep going, see if we find more.
Do I have your permission to check for traps on the steps, Teach?
I expect you to, of course.
Okay. Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Guidance. Okay. I don't have guidance.
I do.
Just general feelings of guidance.
I like my placebo guidance.
I actually do. So as Ali pretends to do guidance, Elder Honu will place a hand on the shoulder and actually cast
I didn't know you could do that. I feel all warm and fuzzy. Okay, then I would go to the stair.
Does Allie know? Like, maybe Allie's like, wait, I can guide people.
I suddenly looked down my moo-moo. I was like, did you do that?
Asking your golden So I'm going to go to the door. If there's a door to the stairs, I'll mage hand it over.
There is not. It's just a stairs
leading
leading
up.
up.
So like going slowly and stealthily and lightly and awesomely with all of my high intelligence and investigative skills, I'm going to check for traps. I know I can do it physically. I'm not sure how much magically I can do. I have taken Arcane Trickster, but would I know magical traps when I look for them?
Yeah, if you're looking for them, magical traps, which are just going to be affecting people, whether they are magical or not. So you would know that without having to do magical stuff with investigations. But I'm going to have you do a stealth check first, because you said you were going to do it stealthily. And that is dexterity based, but stealth first and then investigation second.
And passive without a trace is still up.
Oh,
yeah, actually that would be gone because I've cast multiple concentration
spells.
And Fairy Fire, guidance is one. Yeah. So you do get to add the guidance to this.
And how much is guidance?
D4.
It's a D4, yeah.
8 plus 7 is 15, plus 3 is 18.
Okay, so you move fairly quietly up the stairs. There's maybe a slight creak, but very little. So now investigation.
I like this one.
Yep. And the guidance would be gone.
No worries. And this is investigation 11.
Perfectly safe.
Oh yeah, it's just like the first floor. Oh, go.
I'd say, well, let Mr. Round Clown go first.
Oh yeah, Mr. Round Clown, my new boyfriend.
Yeah.
I have a question, by the way. How wide is Mr. Round Clown?
He's like humanoid size, so he's like about 4.5 feet tall, and like.
And he's on a ball.
He's a stack of balls though,
and so they can go upstairs.
Yeah, because he has legs.
He does have legs.
Yeah. So
I was thinking of it as like BB-8 or something.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
so like there's.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like the Michelin Man. Yeah. All the parts are disconnected, you know, and are held together by magic.
So
fan hands and feet.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, so Mog very quietly moves up. And
exactly.
Then, like, clank is as Mr. Round Clown heads up next. Okay.
Yeah, or clatter. Yeah.
Clatter. Okay. All right. Well, on the next floor, seems perfectly safe, and he does not set anything off either. So I'm going to bring you, Zach, and then everybody else over to here, and I want to make sure that I position this properly. So stairs go up here. So this is coming up from down below. So this is literally the second. That's the ground floor. This is the first floor, basically. So notable couple of things. First of all, the stairs going up are over here to go to the next floor. But what you note here is a table with several stools and a number of writing implements and, documents and things like that on top of them. Several crates as well. And you see another one of these rugs with the strange symbols on them. But what strikes you also is there is a very large, really brazier, I would say, in the southern corner of the room, the southwest corner of the room across from the stairs. And in it is this very large, maybe like 5 feet by 5 feet, very sizable piece of what looks like blue crystal. Some kind of blue crystal or ore, possibly, that's been mined. Doesn't look like polished or refined. It's sitting on top of the brazier, and you all can see, without even having to do a check, that there's a very faint blue glow coming from it. Very faint.
Have we seen anything like this at Hearthglow before?
There's all kinds of glowing things all the time at Hearthglow, for sure. But you've not seen a crystal or a rock this big.
Okay.
Any striking types of magic coming from this?
When you come up to the floor, so before we do that, Mog, you're going to be up. Eventually, at some point, we'll start using minis for this too to make it easier to remember. But for right now, it's fine. So you're going to come up and just go into the room, Mog?
I'm following Mr. Round Clown first.
Okay, right. Round Clown.
So Round Clown, wherever he goes, I'm going to probably walk.
He goes dead center.
Dead center.
Okay.
And waits for order.
So I'll wait till he reaches dead center safely. I'll wait on the steps.
Okay.
Does anything happen when he goes dead center?
No.
Then I will probably step where he steps and use him as my shield and peek around.
Okay. So that means that then when you get up to the landing
Does
there.
Zach have this?
Yes, I do, because I have a roll 20. He has a roll 20 link now, so you can see too. When you get up to that floor, if you were to sort of look at, again, there's the same kind of magic I mentioned before, conjuration, abjuration. There definitely, though, is a slightly stronger, of conjuration coming from the blue crystal. That there's definitely a little bit stronger there. It's not extreme, it's not overwhelming, and it's slightly drowned out by the fact that the whole tower is filled with this stuff, with this feeling, but perhaps a little more from the crystal.
All right. Hearthglow, the hearth is glowing. I have a little bit of conjuration from that. I wouldn't get near.
I'm going to look around for something of a size that would have fit in the cubby hole. So as we're exploring this room, my goal will be specifically carefully in nooks and crannies behind crates within, and obviously that blue thing's frightening, but it's not the size that I'm looking for necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But what does conjuration do again specifically?
It is.
I didn't know if you were as Wilhelm or as me.
Yeah, what's conjuration mean? Is it controlling something? Is it a portal?
It's bringing things to you, basically. So either objects, conjuration, or summoning creatures.
Right.
So possibly, if there's some kind of guardian, it could be summoning a guardian.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and if it does, do you think a way to stop it would be destroying that thing? Not that we need to destroy things all the time, but just in case, is that something we should watch out for?
Maybe we should examine it closely and apply our schooling in Arcana to see if we can figure out a little more about it.
Okay, but if schooling doesn't work, I can firebolt it.
I think that sounds
We could
dangerous
try.
to me.
I could certainly try.
Teach, what do you think?
No, I'm in the same thought. Elder Onu's approaching the table with all the knickknacks on it, if that is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm definitely walking right to the huge gem, in part, because of what we said, but you can also see a weird twinkle, of draconic lineage, ooh, massive gem.
Shiny. That would look really good in your room.
You think?
Yeah, I think it would suit you.
I think this could be a new torso for Mr. Roundclown.
Oh, give him a little West kit, eh? I'm looking around for small, weird, dangerous-looking things. That's my goal.
And I'm really going to study the gem
crystal.
close.
Okay. And then Wilhelm, you're going where?
The desk.
The desk.
For sure.
And Elder Han is going to the desk too. Okay. So let's start with I'll save the crystal for last. Over on the desk, a couple of things. So Mog, there are all kinds of little sort of things, but they seem to be mostly associated around writing implements. Like you see stamps and you see blotters and you see paper and you see
the crates,
quills
same thing.
and things like that. In the crates, if you were going to open the crates, now question, these are all, they're like nailed shut. So do you want to pry them open?
I got thieves' tools. I'm sure I've got something. I mean, I got a big backpack full of things, full of student-like things that I need, wrenches and clubs.
Yeah, I would, in that event, I would allow you to...
I got a crowbar in here. I do. I
Oh,
have
you
a
do?
crowbar in my backpack. Indeed, I do.
There you go. That's the magic word. Okay, so crowbar. I would like you to make a strength check for me, please. It's not a difficult one.
Metal.
And which one of these crates, by the way, first?
So we came in here, so whatever, this
that one?
stack
Okay,
first.
that's fine. Mm-hmm.
Strength A. Oh, +1. 17.
That's fine, especially with the crowbar. So it makes this, again, sound echoes throughout the tower. Throws like echo up.
We're being very
and,
discreet.
So you hear circumspect sort of in your mind. No. So you're able to pull it off, and inside the crate there are a group of stacked papers that I mentioned previously. But the first crate basically has a stack of papers. Second crate has a stack of papers. The third crate, though, has a stack of papers. No, I'm just kidding. The third crate does not have a stack of papers. On the ground, basically stacked below them, is a crate with what looks like a lot of broken, shattered, and largely destroyed shards of blue crystal.
Okay.
Like you were looking at a bucket of broken glass.
Okay. All right. I'm going to show everybody this. The papers, really quickly, if I were riffling through them, any names of other teachers, any letters?
All the papers blank.
All the papers
At least
blank?
it looks blank.
Dang. All right, so blank or looks blank. So the other thing, as we're looking, is I'm also going to be keeping my eye out for evidence of Vernon having been in conversation more intimately or in an alliance-like way.
Okay.
But these shards of blue crystals I'm finding... Allie, be careful over there.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm going to come, because this is happening simultaneous to Allie going there.
Allie.
I can't wait to talk about that in just a moment. Wilhelm, when you go over to the desk, and you and Elder Hanu both go over to the desk, you can see, as I mentioned, there are these writing implements and blotters, there are inkwells and things like that. But one thing that strikes you as a little bit strange is that there are these inkwells are all there. You got the blotter, you got all that stuff, right? But you can see a lot of what look like when you first see them from a distance. There's a document that has a lot of writing on it, right? Like you can see writing from a distance. But as you get closer to it, the writing seems to vanish. And when you get up to them, you are then looking at blank paper. This is the case with both Elder Hanu and you, Wilhelm.
I see. Illusion magic from it?
Not really.
Really? Alright. Anybody have a spyglass? It's actually quite expensive, probably not.
Elder Hanu says...
No, I've got all kinds of things in my backpack, but not a spyglass, unfortunately.
What's
He
up,
shakes
Elder
his
Hanu?
head and he's like,
So it isn't just my old eyes. Those papers are shifting.
They are, and I don't detect any striking magic from them either. It may just be the paper.
If I took a step back from the crates and looked at them, does writing appear on the papers?
No.
Okay.
If I go across the room, has the ink entirely vanished?
Writing comes back.
Oh, it comes back. All right.
So when you get closer, it starts vanishing and you go back.
This is going to be a tricky puzzle on the long end. And you said I'm gonna rifle through the things that she was looking at. They're all blank there.
They're all blank. Yeah, and that you don't see writing from a distance either. Like that's just blank from the get-go. Now speaking of blue crystal,
Be careful, Adam.
so Allie, as you're sort of coming close to this crystal, you hear kind of like what are you doing with the crystal? I should ask.
Well, I'm just approaching it, and I'm sort of like looking at it like a 4-year-old would look at a cupcake that they're not supposed to touch. So I'm just kind of like interestedly like peering closer toward it, and
I'm curious about how long before the 4-year-old cupcake takes over. That is to say, now I want the cupcake.
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm just kind of like looking at it, and because I definitely like. Well, first of all, is it like 2 feet across, or like how big is this thing?
It's probably a good.
You said 5 by 5.
Yeah, it's probably like 4.5, 5 feet. It's a big crystal.
So it's about as big as I am.
Yeah,
so
maybe a little less, maybe like 4 by 4, but it's a big crystal.
Can I see my reflection in it?
So as you kind of move your nose up to it, without touching it, but you move your nose up to it, which is at the same time you're like, be careful with that. The way I would describe it is you don't see the reflection because it's so faceted in part that it's hard and it's rough, it's not polished.
Yeah.
But you can feel this strange, it almost feels as if something from the crystal, and I'm going to say this and then quickly qualify it. It's like some energy is kind of slightly pulling at your body. I do not mean that something is trying to snatch you inside the crystal, but it's as if you were a magnet and you were putting something next to a magnet of opposite poles. So you feel this strange kind of like slight warping almost of your skin and scales as you're right next to it. So you don't see a reflection, but it definitely is giving off some kind of aura.
Yeah, I'll back off immediately when I feel this like, ugh.
Allie, come look at these. Look, it's crystal shards, just like little versions of the big thing.
It tried to touch me.
I think it would have exploded if you touched it. That's my theory. Do you want to get the clown to touch it?
I think we need to get out of this room and let Mr. Round Clown touch it, maybe.
Next level.
See one thing real quick. I'm gonna look at the table. Are there gloves?
There were not gloves on the table, no.
And then of the broken shards, does it look like there were tools that may have broken it off this larger crystal?
Make an investigation check for me, please.
Nice.
That's not bad. That is 17.
17. You don't think that this was done by tools because the shards are of various sizes and shapes. You think this was done as the process of an explosion. You think something shattered this.
Oh.
Or it was shattered.
Gotcha. Okay, this may have shattered.
Yeah. I'm going to take a couple of the bigger, nicer chunks and put them in my backpack.
Okay. They're all sharp and angular, be aware. Like, they're different types, but...
I'll be so careful.
Okay.
I'll go to the bottom
Rip,
of my backpack.
Yeah, exactly.
I've prepared a spell that's very good at blowing up crystals, so if we ever get there, I'm ready.
I got some
From a
jewels for
distance.
you. From a distance.
Oh, thank you. So, did we figure out about the paper?
No.
Elder Honu was going to try one thing. Is there anything that we found on the desk that is like a mirror at all, or offers a reflection?
There is not... there's not a mirror. I'm trying to think if the inkwells would be, but no, because it's dark ink.
I've got a
Probably
disguise
not.
kit. Would that come with the mirror? You have a makeup.
Yeah, if you're doing... Yeah.
Probably. A small one, but yes.
Yeah, I'm a vain little creature. Have my mirror.
I take the compact, or whatever it is, and I'll grab one of the papers that the script of it disappears the closer you get, and I'll try to angle it so that I'm reading the paper through the mirror and see if that...
Nothing appears in the mirror. Because you said you're holding it, right? And you're holding the mirror?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing appears in the mirror.
Okay. Elder Honu will say,
We should probably gather these illusory papers, and I do think we should do something with this brazier, because we don't want to go upwards and then have it activate or something. So I'd rather we experiment with it now before we we pass, and that could mean leaving the room and having our new clown friend give it a poke or something.
All right, I've got a map case, a scroll case, as part of my thing, so I can put those documents in the scroll case.
Okay. Is there enough space in that to get all of them?
I don't know. It said case, map, or scroll.
There's probably about 10 pieces of paper or so on the desk that look like this.
And if you roll them up?
Yeah, it'd be tight, but yeah.
They're
brittle and immediately...
I bet y'all have satchels too. I don't have to take all of them, but I'll take some of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
Allie says to Willem, and again, I go like super normal, like super straight. Like, so you said you have something you can do with crystals?
To blow them up.
Are we there, Teach? Are we blowing it up?
Why don't we see what just touching it does first?
Okay.
Dang it.
Everyone, get down the stairs. I'll have Mr. Round Clown do it.
Yeah, because we know the downstairs is safe. We checked that, so we think they were safe a second ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, except for the scorch mark of the,
Right,
they're
right.
totally
Well,
safe.
the stairs,
No,
I mean, like-
I'm just giving you, I'm just joking.
Yeah, let's go in the fire chute over here.
Okay, so you're going all the way down the stairs, so the only person up...
Yeah, I'm imagining that everyone kind of has their heads stacked. It's kind of like the
We're in the
Yes.
Okay.
stairway.
Yeah.
So, and then Mr. Round Clown is going to walk up, or is going to...
Yeah, it's gonna approach, and I'll just do it like one step at a time.
Okay.
Dum, dum. He walks over, and then I'll be like, "Okay, everybody ready?
Mm-hmm.
Do your thing, Mr. Round Clown." Mr. Round Clown says, "Sure thing, Allie, you beautiful, beautiful woman."
I like him.
And then he just takes his fan hand and touches.
Okay, the minute he touches it, you were all sort of looking up. I don't know if anyone listening or any of the players here know of the movie Backdraft. So when he touches it, there is this moment where you can, because who's the person who's at the top of the stairs stacked up? You said someone is like looking.
It would
right?
probably be me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like looking, and you can see that the hand glows for a moment, and then and the entire crystal explodes. So I'm going to roll my own dice. Let's see. So
Satisfying sound of many dice being rolled.
all right, Mr. Roundclown is going to take 20 points of
did.
piercing damage as he is pierced by multiple crystal pieces. He's also thrown backwards 10 feet.
Okay.
And prone, if there is something. I mean, how is he prone? Does he...
I mean, he becomes
Like,
a
how does
mispiled stack of
Okay,
bowling balls.
so he just, right, so slam. Now, I also need you, Allie, to make a dexterity saving throw for me to avoid the shards of crystal.
Okay.
Also, you below, farther down the stairs, feel the tower like slightly shake from the explosion.
Discretion.
That's a 19 for me?
Okay, so you were able to duck just, and then as these crystals hit the wall, like right below where you just ducked.
Oh no, Mr. Round Clown! And I run, toward him.
Okay, now when you run up, you are going to take 2 points of damage because there's crystal all over the floor.
Ow, ow, ow!
Careful, Ellie, careful.
Slow down, slow.
So then I will most slowly pick my way.
Now, then that's fine. And he's kind of like with crystal in all these sort of pieces.
Right.
Now, one thing I want to note is obviously he's made of metal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these things are embedded
Right.
in the metal. And as you look up, you can see that the entire southern end of the room now is just covered in crystal. Obviously, the blue crystal, as you might expect in the brazier, is not there. The brazier itself is on its side, and there are just blue crystal pieces like embedded in the walls and on the floor all along the southern side.
Are they all still glowing?
They are not glowing, but they look a hell of a lot like the crystal pieces that you saw in that crate.
Does the brazier look like, is there any evidence of, I guess, like that this crystal will grow back if left alone? Like, does that feel like that?
I mean, maybe, but that's not something. I'd have to think about what you do to sort of determine that, because you certainly couldn't check it out. I mean,
it's not like there's that feeling of that magnet feeling when you approach the brazier. Is it still there, only lesser?
no. That feeling does not exist now.
Are there no shards clinging to the sides of the brazier anymore?
There probably are one or two of them that just sort of like leaning against it or sort of like, shot out and then like a couple like rain down on the brazier and are lying loose in the bottom. But no, it doesn't seem to be magnetically attuned to the brazier, and the brazier itself doesn't seem to be the thing that was giving off the energy.
The conjuration energy?
Right.
And if I asked Wilhelm Scriver, would that same conjuration energy be dissipated at this point?
That's a good point.
The other thing I should mention about this is the sensation that you get from the brazier now is probably evocation, but it wasn't there before. Evocation magic, for those who don't know, is usually associated with raw elemental power, fireballs, lightning bolts, things like that. So there's definitely evocation magic there before, but it was not there before. I mentioned the conjuration thing and abjuration everywhere. Theory, Wilhelm, if there is shielding, it's possible the shielding is holding in place certain things like this, that when the shielding is removed somehow, by, for example, a robot creature touching it, the result is evocation released.
So, theoretically, I don't know if I would know this as a character.
I'm giving that to Wilhelm because of some magical knowledge, basically.
So, if we were chatting about this, would we theorize that we might find something with conjuration magic coming over it that might then loose fire, like it did before, like this one loosed crystal, but there might be other elemental things hiding behind shielding?
I mean, it's possible.
It's possible?
I think this brazier might still have a use. Maybe not a use for us, but I think it still does something that may have been blocking something out.
So you're still wise not to get near it?
Probably not.
Okay.
And it's like on its side.
Don't touch it, Allie.
Right, and I'm tending to Mr. Robot. I've got him in my arms. Like, oh,
Careful, don't hug him too close.
Yeah. How
Mr.
does
Brown
Mr. Round Clown look like?
he looks badass right now. As I'm looking at him,
And
I'm
also
just like,
bad.
He's actually looking pretty like Mad Max right now. So like a spiked mace,
Right.
but a whole person.
But like still alive, quote unquote.
Oh yeah, he's still alive.
What does he have on, by the way, for hit points?
He's 30 hit points.
Left?
Oh no, 10 hit points.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like,
That's 20,
wow.
20 was taken care of, right?
Yeah, 20 he was hit for 20.
Okay.
Still
Elder,
standing.
yeah, the elder says, "Well, I'm glad that we didn't have to deal with that on the way up or down."
That's what he's for, and don't worry, he's self-repairing. It'll take a while.
All right. Well, we found some strange papers and interesting brazier. I guess perhaps we should continue.
Did I open all the crates in the room, Greg?
I think you had opened 3 of them, which were the ones to the south of that table. You haven't opened the crates that are on the top left, but just so you know, they do look like the crates here, but you haven't opened the ones near the staircase.
I probably would, as she's tending, as some of in the aftermath as we're crunching through the crystals, I'd probably try to crowbar the rest open and refold.
More papers. No more of the crystal, though. Just more of the papers. So
And they're all
basically,
blank.
and they're all blank.
And they don't have writing upon approach.
Nope.
So the ones we took from the table were the important ones, probably.
Well, I mean, they're the ones that had that effect that I mentioned. So yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
So everything else is just blank paper.
All of the crates are filled with blank paper, except for that one that I mentioned, that the crate that was stacked below the other crates that had these crystal shards. And then on the table, you got all of the sort of writing implements and things like that. Multiple inkwells. That is one thing I should note, by the way. There are a lot of inkwells for this. Like there are 3 big inkwells. I mean, I don't know, maybe Vernon Richard does a whole ton of writing down here, or did.
Do you think the kind of ink he was using makes this effect happen? Should we take some of the blank paper and try the different inks and see what happens?
That's a good idea.
That's a very good point.
All right, why don't we each take an inkwell? And here I found some blank paper, everyone.
Okay, so so there's 3 inkwells there. Who's taking which? You got left, middle, and right, just for safe.
I'll take the left one.
Okay.
Take the middle.
Okay.
Well, I'll take the right with my left hand.
Ah, okay. All right.
Actually, with my mage hand.
With your mage hand. Okay, and then what are you writing on if you're taking the inkwell?
I'm taking some of the blank paper and
Okay.
writing on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you had the right one, right? You with your left hand, but you took the right.
Yeah, the right
well.
the right
okay.
one.
Okay, so your ink just writes.
I'm gonna draw all of Allie's new dragon teats. Just to draw them.
And then show everybody?
No, I mean, I don't say what they are. Like,
No, I know.
I'm just drawing Tiamat, you know?
Okay, so you do that, and it just...
And then I'm going to step 6 feet away and look.
It's still there.
Oh, this is for you, Allie.
I eat it.
I eat it. Okay.
I'm going to write Vernon Rashad. Ooh.
It's a good thing to write.
And then back up.
That also is just there.
All right.
All right. The elder will start drawing a terrible. He's not an artist, so a terrible depiction of all of the 4 of them. Just a little stick figure drawing.
Okay.
And then he'll write each person's name under their stick figure, and then he'll walk back.
Okay. It just stays there.
I don't know. I think it's sus.
Let's take this ink just to be sure. Ink is expensive.
Right, and also, isn't it? I don't know. We work at a magic academy, so doesn't transcribing spells require a special kind of ink?
Yes.
Would we know if this was that kind of ink as students or teachers? Is that something we would know, or like?
I don't think. Well, arcane tricks. I don't think you would know that yet. I will allow you two to make Arcana checks because you might know.
With their lineage?
Also,
Jesus.
I love that thing. 16.
spike on the microphone.
18 plus 2, 20.
20. Okay. So you would know, both of you, that inks are often used when we're doing the writing of the spells things in combination.
Oh.
Oh.
In combination with blue crystal?
Well, or with other inks.
Yeah, just like the ink.
Okay. So would you say that, and then
We say it out loud, yeah.
and then could we all combine the inks and write something?
How do you want to do that? Though?
Yeah, so it's like, here's how we'll do it. It's like, are there spare inkwells?
There's not spare one on there, no. I mean, there's a couple. There's like a little box, like the dice box there.
Yeah.
So theoretically holding.
Yeah, well, just using corners carefully.
Okay.
Take left and middle,
Yeah.
one corner.
Okay.
Middle and right, another corner.
Okay.
Left and right, another corner.
Okay.
All 3, last corner.
Okay.
And then dip and
Vernon
experiment.
Richard sucks.
Yes.
Begin our little art project, our graffiti.
So I'm going to guess that the sucks part is the part where you use the one with all 3. Vernon Richard sucks.
Sure.
When you use all the combinations, doesn't do anything different. But when you do the last one, that's the 3, and you do these sucks, as you then walk away, the sucks gradually vanishes.
Oh, nice.
So now knowing that it's magical ink in a making spell work out, like, is that knowledge useful in how to make them reappear?
Possibly, but not without further material or equipment.
So something to bring before that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So definitely let's take the ink with us. My backpack's a little full.
I was going to say, it's pretty big, these inkwells. You can take them. It's not too heavy. Just be aware, like...
They'd be good on the student black market, you know?
Yeah.
Not that we have a student black market teach.
Elder Honu's going to take all 3.
Sorry.
And is going to store them in his shell and say,
Good move. That was very
later.
good.
A safe
Lawful good of you.
I'm imagining that shell is like Marge Simpson's hair. You could just reach in there and pull out anything at any time.
Yep. Just right back there, all the space I could want.
So we have 5 minutes before wrap up, so we're good. We can do another 5 minutes and then we'll wrap. Okay, so where now?
I will.
There were more crates, right, that we hadn't opened
I
yet?
got them all, but they were all blank.
Check.
And not magically blank. It didn't seem anyway. I might be missing something. I'm happy to check for traps up the next level.
Okay.
And while she does that, I'm just going to peek into the brazier and see if there's anything in there.
Other than just a sort of darkened, not a scorch, but a sort of darkened mark where presumably the crystal had been sitting. No, it looks pretty empty. And also not really affected apparently by the explosion. Like there's no crystal, there may be like a loose crystal piece on it, but there's nothing embedded in the brazier.
Wish we could take this back with us to our dorms.
It's like massive though, right?
Pretty heavy, yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
We'll come back for it
for the black market.
with a dolly.
If this is Dark Souls, you could throw it in the back.
Right.
Not in reality.
So I'll just stealth up, looking very carefully on the stairs for traps and
so
on the walls.
2 checks again. So stealth first. Let's do that first.
I'll give guidance to Mog, and you get to choose which one you want to use the D4
Right, if you
on.
want to use it on this, or you want to use it on the...
I will use the guidance for the investigation, I think. Would probably be El Wiso. Okay, this will be for stealth. Not that it matters, but 12.
12, okay.
And then investigation.
Yep, a little louder than the last time.
Well, we already just exploded.
Yeah,
a whole
exactly.
thing.
I was gonna
Maybe
say,
I shouldn't be
The
stealthy
75
anymore.
dragons are waiting.
Oh, this is not as good. So this is investigation 13.
Okay. It seems the stairs seem more or less like the other stairs did, so you don't notice anything in particular different about
And
them.
nothing, like, as far as there's nothing on the walls
No.
or spigots,
No.
pressure plates.
Yeah, exactly. Large boulder-sized holes.
Right. Machine guns.
So when you go up to the next level, let me make sure I have this positioned properly. So you're going up that way. Yes, that's right. You come out to find this. And I will describe what the room looks like. And I'm going to bring this, Zach, I'm going to bring you over to there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
you, as you're looking at this, you can see the room is glowing a faint blue. And that is because in the center of the room is another one of those large blue crystals with which you're familiar. But there is a difference. The crystal here is brighter and glows brighter. But that may also be because there is carved on the floor, I should say, not carved, I should say traced out in some kind of blue. It might be a phosphorescent paint or ink, or it might be even little crystalline pieces arranged. Hard to tell from the stairs. A crescent moon. And the moon, the edges of the moon are encircling halfway the brazier with the crystal on top of it. Also, to the northern side and the southern side of this moon with the crystal inside it are 2 posts that have little bits of, imagine like a candelabra, right? Like holding different candles, but instead of candles, there's a glowing blue crystal tip on each one of those pieces. 5 on the one to the north, 5 on the one to the south. There's also in the southwestern corner of the room, you've got a desk with some books and papers and what looks like basically some very long scrolls, maybe even like map size parchments that are rolled up in a stand. And directly across from the stairs is another one of those very similar to the one you saw on the ground floor, big cubby holes of scrolls and books and things like that. And the stairs on the opposite side. One other important note though, Mog, as you come up to the floor and you're kind of looking around and you can feel that bathing glow, that feeling that I've described to you about the sort of rumbling effect and everything. Yes. And you hear very faintly coming from the moon and crystal.
We've got a live one here.
I think that is a good place to bring our session to a close.
Yeah.
So that is session 1, everyone, of Hearthglow, which went super, super well. And I'm very excited to see what else happens with this crew. So I'm going to jump around quickly to each one of them, see if they have any thoughts about this before the end of the podcast is here. So, Zach, I will start with you. Thoughts from you about Elder Hanu, your fellow characters / players, and what you discovered today.
I'm so excited and happy to be back with this group again, back with this adventure with you GMing. It's always a pleasure. Love the dungeon crawl element. We kind of got that in the first 2 Forbidden Library adventures, but it was a traditional dungeon crawl. Now this is a tower ascent, I guess. And loving the, sort of investigation aspect of it. When we got to that first room, I don't know what gave me this impression, but we got to that first room with the scorch mark. I thought that was it. Like, this tower just has his office. That's it. But now it's becoming very evident. Like, this is his full tower of secrets and things to find out. So I'm really excited to see what we discovered. So yeah, I'm excited for next time.
Good stuff. Thank you, Zach. Really good stuff today. And I should mention that these will be coming out probably in 3 or 4 separate episodes. So what you're hearing is the end of our big the end of big episode 1, basically. You may be hearing this as a separate episode. It just struck me for people listening. But regardless, you all know what I'm talking about. Okay, Carlos, thoughts?
Oh my gosh, yeah. To second what Zach said, this scratches like every D&D itch, you know? Glowing blue crystal that explodes in your face? Check, you know? Scorch mark, chalk, on the ground, check. Like
Dragon head nipples, check.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, trying to, give it a little spice here.
Yes.
But yeah, I think, you quickly learn that you don't work with kids, animals, and round clowns, because there's some fun show stealing, but super fun. Yeah.
Very cool. I'm excited to see what else Allie gets up to, and Brown Clown for that matter. So, Claire, what did you feel about Mog and all the work done today, etc.?
I really am enjoying some of in some ways, I've been mostly curious about how these students know each other. They've now been through 2, I would say traumatic adventures, and almost like soldiers in foxholes. I feel like even if they weren't friends before, and I think Allie and I were, but I'm interested in Mog knows who to ask questions of now from certain things, and knows enough to warn her against crystals, knows enough to ask you about arcana, totally reveres and respects and wants to be her favorite teacher, the turtle. And I'm really interested in how that may or may not help them all survive this place, particularly because Vernon is a killer, and he took pleasure, I think, in harming people. He was jealous and secretive. We know this, and has been for decades. Yeah. And so, this place, if this was, his hidey hole, it is. I'm really hoping it will reveal something of. I hope that we roll high enough that we can discover something of his dastardly deeds, because obviously what happens in the tower does not stay in the tower.
No, I meant
and
that.
He may have gotten eaten, but I think that he's poisonous, and he's poisoned some waters, and it'd be good to detoxify.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because, you want to make sure that whoever is left behind him doesn't do it again. So, yeah, good stuff, Claire. Thank you. And Adam, last but not least, thoughts about today, etc.
I myself am very, very, very drawn towards the arcane and exploring this sort of magical aspect of Dungeons and Dragons. It's giving Icewind Dale, Netheril type dungeon, and Wilhelm himself, who was very into the performance aspect of magic and arcana, is becoming drawn to this more arcane type of magic.
Interesting.
And is interested in it.
Okay.
Especially this crescent moon on the floor.
Yeah, and there may be some themes setting in about the tower that you'll notice over time as well. So.
It seems like several of us are in danger, not only because Vernon set traps, but in danger of our own growing selves, and the desire to have
especially in one particular case. Yes.
Yeah. Well, your desire for a deeper arcana in a place that could kill you, but being drawn to that, your desire to have something that also could kill you. It's a very teenager, I don't know, we're into 16, 17, maybe 18?
Yeah, probably more like that, more like 18.
18, that's what you were saying, yeah. 18 on the cusp of adulthood, but we don't know enough to survive necessarily. Right. But we're given high positions of trust.
Yeah, and you have powers beyond the norm, right? Most 18-year-olds don't have the ability to do extraordinary things that alter literally space and time to a certain degree. So yeah, that's true.
Speak for yourself, but yes.
Oh, well, those of us who were formerly Tarrasques, I understand. This has been a great pleasure, though. Again, if you like what you hear, by the time you've heard the end of this, there will be several episodes. Then we would ask you to please spread the word about the show. Please let people know about this if this is of interest. And keep tuned to this space, because we will have other stuff down the line, including more episodes, and who knows, maybe other live events in our future. We will see. But otherwise, that's going to do it for me. Wonderful work from Carlos and Claire and Adam and Zach. Thank you all. And
thank you, Greg.
Thanks for listening. Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for listening, everybody. And I'll catch you folks soon. Bye, everybody.
Toodles.
Bye-bye.